I think it's about, I mean, you get the Hollywood version, you get the very lack of detailed version in the schooling system as
Mm,
well when you're
mm,
growing up. But it's also the stories you hear from either your mother, your grandmother, friends, or like you're lucky the doctor saved me. It's all of the stories, the fear mongering and the victimhood that is projected onto you, which isn't your story. So it's
mm.
important to become aware of the outside noise and really come back to yourself, your body, who you are, what you value, what you want, so that you can differentiate between what's you and what's been projected onto you, energetically and, fear based. Um, and I think, yeah, we need elders, we need experienced women
Mm.
to bring it back to what birth is really about. It's a biological, physiological process that women were born to, you know, move through. It's a rite of passage, it's a transformation, it's where our power lies. And I think that's why it's been taken away from us, because women are so powerful. And there are a lot of women, unfortunately, walking around out there not understanding their true power.
Hi, and welcome back to episode 5 of A Woman Refined. I'm Lauren Renee, your host, and today I have a very special guest. Her name is Alyssa Rafidi. Now, some of you may know her as Joel Rafidi's wife, but she is so much more than that. She is a birth doula, and she is one of the most knowledgeable women I know on pregnancy and birth and going within yourself as a woman to refine your process and to move towards meeting yourself. We go pretty deep here, and so there is a trigger warning at the beginning for anyone who has perhaps dealt with a child loss in pregnancy, as Alyssa is so generous in opening up in her experience in that. Um, but this is one of the most important conversations I think that we can have as women is to share our experiences and to talk about the shadowy parts that we avoid mostly when we are talking about pregnancy and birth and this exciting transition that we make in life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the vast knowledge and the beautiful presence that is Alyssa Rafidi. As always, click like, follow, share, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you in the next episode. All right, Alyssa Rafidi, welcome.
Hello.
How are you? You well?
I'm good. I'm very
That's
good.
so good. So you
Glad we
are,
can finally talk.
yes, yes. We've been chatting about this for a while, actually, and you are currently 36 weeks pregnant.
36 weeks pregnant.
Yes. So we thought we'd better get it done
And
quick before Bubba
yes, yeah.
comes. Yeah. And you're in Mexico at the moment.
Yes, we moved to Mexico, well, nearly 2 years ago now. In February, it'll be 2 years. So time flies
Wow.
when you're having fun.
And are you
Yeah,
home birthing over there?
I'm definitely home birthing. I'm actually going to free birth this baby or have a sovereign birth. Yeah, so I'm so
Exciting.
excited.
That is
I feel
exciting.
ready. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm excited to meet this baby. And yeah, it's been a journey to get here. So
Yeah, you've been on quite a journey. And I think like most people, I guess, would know you now because of Joel's popularity as like Joel's wife. But you're a person on your own and you have interests and expertise aside from being Joel's wife. And a lot of that is in like the motherhood and birthing and pregnancy space, correct?
Mhm. Yes,
What
I
we
am a birth doula, and I support women in having their own sovereign births, and making informed decisions empowered decisions for their family, for themselves, and for their children, their babies. So yeah, that's what I'm passionate about. And so I try to live by those values as well. And yeah, that's my line of work. And I suppose I stepped into it when I had my first daughter, Valley. So yeah, it's been a ride of my own personal growth and evolution and transformation. And then to offer that support and love and guidance to women that are seeking the same. It's such a joy, and such, powerful work that we do as women to
Mm.
guide and offer and allow that support for others too.
Such a
Because that's what
trick.
was given to me, and I wanted to give that back and be of service.
It's such a tricky thing with motherhood too, because you kind of forget. Your brain is kind of wired in the way that you forget what it was like, or at all stages of motherhood. And so it's like needing someone who is a little bit ahead of you to kind of tell you this is normal, this is okay, this is expected, this is what's coming up, but not someone who's too far ahead because they've forgotten already, they're already in a completely different stage. And it's a tricky balance, I find. So I find that a lot of women, myself included, when I did my Welcome to Woman, no, my birthing outside the system stuff. Um, I did it while I was in it, and that was great, but it took so long to create all of that. But by the time it was released, I was out of
Mm-hmm.
that phase, and it felt a bit like disjointed. And unless you're going back into that phase and having another child and being in that season of life, you and I were just talking about, different seasons before we jumped on the call, that different season of life where you're kind of in that birthing stage where you're having multiple children, it is really hard for a lot of women to give support in, I guess, the ways that they would probably want to. But then you've
Mm-hmm.
got that added element of so many women have never been supported and have no idea what that looks like or how to even offer it, even though they come out of it and they recognize I was completely undersupported in this and I wish that I had been, but they don't know what that looks like.
Looks like, yeah.
And I see you so much online. Your Q&As are phenomenal, I have to say. Like the women that
Thank
ask the
you.
questions, you can tell that they really genuinely are looking for someone to support them. And you give
Mm-hmm.
so much information and so much support, just giving it away for free, which is just so generous. But the way that you're communicating with these women is from a place of how I experience it is like, here's a woman who genuinely cares and who has the skills and ability to be able to communicate that level of support and actually wants to do that. And that comes across versus someone who's like, this is just a business or this is something I created once and I say the same thing every single time because I'm now out of that phase or whatever. The way that I experience yours is so personal and so heart-centered. Like it's really, I feel it when I read your Q&A. Sometimes it like brings me to tears. It's so
You're
lovely.
gonna make me cry because that's really, it's a nice compliment to receive, because I do try to show up as authentically as I can
Mm,
and share my lived experience. And um that's it's every single thing I've been through is something that someone else is going through. And if you don't speak from the heart and speak from, a place of embodiment and learning and growth, then how do other people know that they can get through these things, these hardships, or, know there's a different way out there to what we've
mm,
been taught or conditioned? So that means a lot to me. I appreciate that. And I think that families and children are really important. I think women are important,
mm.
how we're treated, how we're loved and supported and guided. And that's, really what I want. So for others, so I appreciate you saying that. Um, I suppose I sometimes feel like I'm going overboard, or like I have to share more. I think that's a bit in my design. It's like, yeah, I want to give a different opinion, a different side of things,
Mm.
open up new doors. And yeah, that's I'm glad that it can be received in that way. And it truly comes from my lived experience. I'm not trying to fake it or tell you something that I haven't personally lived, or the information that I've come into contact with or embody. That's all real from me. Um, and yeah, so
Were you supported in your first pregnancy with Valley by any like elder woman?
yes, I had very intentionally chosen two midwives and a doula. And I knew that the people that were supporting me would be very important in my environment. I had a 40-hour home birth, and in the end decided to transfer to hospital, and had to agree to some intervention to be able to get away with a very harsh form of intervention. So I made decisions that were what I thought with my husband, in my best interest, and that would let us walk away a little bit, you know just just walk away from the system in a way that I could still come out of it feeling empowered. And so I gave my consent. But what made the difference with that hospital birth was that I had those people at home who supported me, loved me, trusted me, believed in me, empowered me, just supported me in my healing, allowed me to integrate and process and talk and vent and cry and grieve. And
Mm.
so I was supported. And that's why I wanted to step into the birth space. And so for myself, I became a doula. And then along the way, I found my own sort of individual path where I bring in my essence and my spirit and my, support, my what I can offer. And so I was supported. And then in my second birth, I chose a similar team. Um, and it's just kind of grown from there. And I've become more confident and more empowered and more through my lived experience. This is where I am today. So I was lucky enough that I intentionally made decisions for myself where I could um, I could walk away and step into motherhood supported and loved by certain people.
That's so lucky. And I know that so many, I mean, lucky, but also, like you said, intentional. But I know that so many women don't have like that opportunity or even the awareness that that is a possibility for them. Um, I know that when I was creating how I ended up creating my stuff is I did similar to you, like a ton of research and knew what I wanted before I even was pregnant. And so I had actually like a Google Docs folder online, and I had all this information there, and I had like books to read, people to talk to, things to buy, all that kind of stuff. And um, I was the first one of my friends to get pregnant. And what happened was friends of friends were saying to their friends, so people that I didn't know were saying, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant," because we're all going into our 30s, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant and I don't know what to do. Like what now? What next?" And so they were like, "Oh, I've got a friend who has all this information. You should contact her."
Mm-hmm.
So I were having all these random women contact me and just being like, I just was told I should contact you. Like, I don't know what to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
just remember thinking, this is wild that because that was my experience. I got pregnant and I was like, okay, now what? Like, I felt very informed, but I was still like, but now what do I do? And I called my
Mm-hmm.
sister and I called, I think I called Tani, Mason's who runs Superfoods. I think they called Tani. I was like, help. I don't like, what do I do? I don't want to go into the system. I don't want to have that kind of birth. So what now? Like, we are not given any kind of option that is mother-centered, that is supportive of your choices. And even someone who is super informed and like you were super supported and you still had to transfer, right? So
Mm-hmm.
things happen. We don't necessarily always get like the perfect fairy tale outcome. I also tried to free birth and ended up transferring as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, these things do happen, but even the most supported people still in this day and age struggle. So I can imagine for those women that I spoke to, and for many other women out there who may be listening now, um, and the women who ask you in your Q&As what to do, it would be completely foreign for so many of them to even think of something other than, and I would say for a lot of us, our programming, which is the American TV version of birth, in the hospital on your back, legs in the stirrups, 1,000 people in the room, screaming your heart out, and then maybe getting whipped away for a Caesar. Like that would just be, that's just what it is. That's all they've ever
Mm-hmm.
known. That's all they've ever seen. Because for a lot of them, that's the only birth they've ever even witnessed is a Hollywood version of it, which is dramatized and traumatized them. And no one else around them, I found that older women weren't really giving that support or even telling the truth sometimes for fear of like scaring younger women. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, there was a weird protectiveness and it was very much like, wow, if someone like you and me who were quite informed at our first pregnancies, how are these other women? How are we going to I was the same as you. I want to help. How do we get
Yes.
this message out there that you can do this? And it doesn't have to be that way. It can actually be whichever way you want it to be. Not that you have to do it the way that I did it either, because there's a lot of people in that birth space who can
Yeah.
shame people who want to, go into the system.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think it's about, I mean, you get the Hollywood version, you get the very lack of detailed version in the schooling system as
mm,
well when you're
mm,
growing up. But it's also the stories you hear from either your mother, your grandmother, friends, or like you're lucky the doctor saved me. It's all of the stories, the fear mongering and the victimhood that is projected onto you, which isn't your story. So it's
mm,
important to become aware of the outside noise and really come back to yourself, your body, who you are, what you value, what you want, so that you can differentiate between what's you and what's been projected onto you energetically and, fear based. Um, and I think, yeah, we need elders, we need experienced women
mm,
to bring it back to what birth is really about. It's a biological, physiological process that women were born to, you know, move through. It's a rite of passage, it's a transformation, it's where our power lies. And I think that's why it's been taken away from us, because women are so powerful. And there are a lot of women, unfortunately, walking around out there not understanding their true power. And it's such an amazing thing because a mother is the heart of the home. A mother is who is raising this family. A mother is the health. You need a healthy mother to have a thriving family,
mm,
um, a thriving family unit, and healthy children. And when you are able to make decisions for yourself and for your family, it changes the game. You're no longer relying on anyone else outside of yourself, and your children are under your care. They're safe. They feel powerful themselves. I have two little girls who are watching me. And if
mm,
I told them all the things, I think birth's beautiful. I think I've had amazing birth experiences. Um, they have seen me emotional. They have seen me move through some big things. And for little girls to see their mother hold that and then to come through that and to, embody that's what life's about. That's what I want to give to my daughters alone. And that's where my work starts, inside my home.
mm,
um and what a beautiful gift. They know nothing other than what I'm showing them:
mm,
beautiful, powerful, strong, embodied, women, and I surround them. They've both seen live births. They see me birth. And, that's where change happens. But the mother has to be well. The mother
Mm,
has to be informed and powerful and know herself. There needs to be boundaries, that she needs to be able to say no. She needs to be able to live in alignment and live authentically with her design and with her how she wants to show up, and stop giving that power away in birth and in life. And it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. What matters is what she is doing inside of her home, and that she's living for herself. And that's where it starts. So, birth is an incredible rite of passage to be able to know yourself, to grow, to transform, to go to the darkest of places and come out a different, stronger, more powerful person. And if women knew this, if they knew what they were bypassing, it's a tragedy, really.
mhm.
Um, and
Yeah.
so I want more of that personally. I'm like, where else can I show up? What else do I need to know? Show me, take me. I want to die again, and I want to come through. I'm
Mm,
excited to know who I am on the other side. And that's the
yes.
best knowledge. That's love for self. That's, all of those amazing, blissful, wonderful things. And when you do that for yourself, when you take self responsibility,
Mm.
when you live like that's gold. That is gold.
I feel like we've really taken away from women their own innate power by telling them that, oh, you're going to want an epidural, or you're going to need to go here and do that, or you're not going to be able to handle it. I remember even my own mother saying, you're not going to be able to handle the pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It
But
comes from the people closest to us.
yes,
And so that's where, especially as women, and you could go into, the mother wound, and you could go into all of these things that are who's holding you back out of fear of them knowing themselves.
yes,
And yeah, so that's why it's important to individuate
yes.
and
I think
to
that
self-discover.
there's two things that go on there. I think when the women do that, one is that they want to be recognized for the severity of things that they went through, and they feel like no one has recognized them yet. So by
Mm-hmm.
playing them up like it was so bad, it was so painful, it was this big experience. It's like a little kid when they make things really big because they're like, you're not acknowledging what's happening right here. So I'm going to have to make it bigger so you acknowledge it. And then I also think when they feel like they were disempowered and that they've had
Mm-hmm.
things taken away from them, that in order to be okay with that, they have to make it that that's normalized. So that's actually what happens to everybody. So you're going to have that experience as well, because if you don't, if you go and, birth in your own home in the way that you want to birth with your own decisions, and you choose maybe to have no painkillers, and you choose to consciously walk into that and know that you're going to be a part of that, it's not a surprise. It's not like, oh, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know and I just happened to experience it. You're choosing to step into that fire and sit in it. Then that for them is a reflection on what they didn't do, almost as a criticism, even when it's not. It's your individual
Mm,
journey and that's their individual journey. But I sometimes feel that it's either one of those two things, that somehow by you taking your power back, it's almost a criticism of them when they feel that their power was taken from them. And I feel for
definitely.
them. I feel for them because obviously it's like your generation
Yeah.
and the generation before that. Like my grandmother was knocked out for her births.
Mm.
She has no memory of them, was like, it was fine. I don't know what happened. They knocked me out and then I had a baby.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's just
You have to
crazy.
offer that hand of compassion,
Yes.
and hope that, you know, a woman realizes that and is able to then take back her power and her control and make different decisions next time.
Mm.
And I think what you said about the part of, something was taken from them, or the little girl inside hasn't been heard. And that's a result of all of our childhood kind of trauma as
Mm,
well. And when we're doing this work and this shadow work and trying to understand ourselves, a lot of it is welcoming that little girl back in
mm,
and giving her the things that she didn't receive when she was little. And so that's a big part of birth preparation
mm,
is loving yourself, being gentle with yourself, understanding and listening and hearing that little girl who didn't get what she received. And then it goes on to reparenting yourself
mm,
alongside your children. And, that's deep, deep work.
mm,
And you can prepare for birth in the physical way and with information and knowledge about birth. But really, when it comes down to it, it's how you hold space for yourself,
mm.
little girl within, and you get good at it when you practice that type of thing well before you give birth.
Yeah.
And you're able to hold it a lot better. You have self trust, you have self confidence, you know about your body, you know how your body reacts when it
Mm,
feels safe or when it's feeling unsafe.
mm,
And that's a lot of the work that goes into birth preparation. And really, only you can give that to yourself. No one else can give that back to you. So people are still seeking outside acknowledgement, outside support,
mm,
outside. And I'm not saying don't get support and from women and elders who will care and nurture you. I'm saying no one can give you your childhood back. You have to give that to yourself, that love that you needed, that nurturing, that care, and that acknowledgement of who you truly are. And that's what I found has been my biggest thing along the way is like, how do I hold space for myself when I'm going through pain or when I'm feeling intense sensations or when I'm feeling emotion or I'm fearful? How do I approach doubt, self doubt? How do I
mm,
talk to myself? Where's the inner critic coming from? Is that my voice or is that somebody else's
mm,
voice that told me I couldn't do it?
mm,
And so that's where I'm at the moment. Like I'm going into this next birth, knowing where my fears lie and how I'm going to handle it when if it comes up again,
mm,
or I know that I'm able to hold, I'm capable of holding anything that comes up for myself because of what I've been able to do for myself, in reparenting myself. And
mm,
that's been my biggest birth work. And I think that if women were supported in that as well, they would know themselves. They wouldn't have so much self doubt. They knew they were capable and had the capacity to move through intensity. And birth can be intense. Birth can also be really peaceful and harmonious.
mm,
And it's not just about, you know, the intense sensations. There's
mm,
so much to it, so much to it. And that's where the secrets lie. But you have to be willing to go there,
mm.
and do that for yourself also. Um,
I think what you
yeah.
said about like earlier about women being so powerful, but not being aware of how powerful they are. I think that's such a key factor in this entire scenario is that they've had an experience, from my perspective, they as a collective, where they haven't been educated sufficiently on what it means to be a woman and what it means to be like in your femininity. What powers that hold? What virtues that hold? Why would I want to sit into that? What does that gain me? Because all they've seen in the media and in real life for our generation has been um, the masculinized world through feminism, which is emulating the masculine. So, career, drive, 24-hour day cycle, logic, some facts, no feelings, all of this kind of stuff, which is in order to compete with men. And so we've dropped the ball on educating women around why would you even want to embrace being a woman? And do you even know that what you're experiencing right now is like creation energy. You are the portal between two worlds. You
Mm-hmm.
are bringing a life, you are growing a human inside of your body, and you're bringing a soul into the world through your being. Like that is phenomenal.
I
And
know. Like,
we just gloss
it's like, do
over
you
it.
know what that is when you stop to think about it?
So
That gives
powerful.
me goosebumps. And it's like, it's okay to be that freaking great.
Yes.
And we're told that we're not. We're told
Yes.
we're lesser than. And it's like, it's so sad because we bring life. It's just like, how can you not stop to think about that and just be, praise yourself if no one else will do that. But
Yes.
you know being a mother and bringing life into this world, that's why humanity continues.
What a
you know
blessing.
it's like we're freaking amazing. And
Absolutely. And it's
yeah.
it's the removal from knowing and understanding and embodying that power that also removes you from when you're in that pregnancy and birth space, because pregnancy can be very uncomfortable as well, especially for a ton of women. But when you're not used to feeling and sensation and don't know how to sit with that, when you don't know your full cycle and what your body and your mind responds to at certain times of the month, when you're not into it, when you're not intuitive with your own, um, how do I want to say this? Like how you put your energy out into the world, and when you are very intuitive and you pick up, I'm very sensitive at certain times and I pick up on certain things. And when you are pregnant, all of that is heightened. And if you've never been taught how to sit into your own body in that way and feel that and embrace it and be like, this is my superpower. This is a part of being a woman, and I love that, and I want to nurture that, and I want to cultivate that. So each month I'm like expanding upon that, and I'm deepening into that, and I am embracing that and opening to that. By the time you get to pregnancy, it's like a great journey because you're already in the flow of womanhood and you're into the next season of your life. You're ready to die as the maiden to become a mother because you have this innate understanding of what it means to be a woman, your journey through womanhood and femininity, and you're embraced in that. But there's been such a removal of that that when we come to pregnancy or birth, it's like, whoa, what is happening to my body? Oh, I've got all these symptoms. Take some drugs for that.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not
Yeah.
right. I better go to a hospital. It's the onslaught of feeling and sensation is too much because we're cut off from it pre-birth. So I think what you're saying is so true. This all starts way before birth, way before pregnancy, and it's the relationship with self always
Mm-hmm.
first.
Absolutely. Everything that you just said, I completely agree with. And what I've noticed within myself is the disconnection between infinite support from the universe and from God, and from when you live in alignment with self that way, you trust and you surrender, and the faith that you embody is like, I'm infinitely guided to bring this life forward.
Yes.
I may have fear at
Yes.
times, and that's okay. But also, I am so loved and I have every resource that I need. And so the support comes from the divine and your innate wisdom and your intuition,
Mm,
and not from a man in a white coat and the drugs that you need to get through
yes.
this. It's like it's a different level of support.
Yes.
Um,
And you have to be open
and
to
you
that
can't
support though.
explain, oh, you need to have experienced
Mm, yes.
receiving that support and facing fear and going down a different direction where you're not numbing, where you're not um completely putting it to the side or burying it. You need to walk through the fire and you need to feel that faith, and as you do, it's like building that muscle. You get better at it, and it's automatically just part of you now. You need to remember that. And it also starts in childhood, what you're taught, who showed you what to fear,
Mm,
who was scared of the world, who told you how to be, who told you all of these things. It's
mm,
deconditioning, it's unlearning, and it's experiencing God and love and
mm,
receiving support from the universe, which is abundantly provided for us,
mhm,
in so many ways. And yeah, when you know that, when you felt that, it just becomes part of you. It's your heart, it's your body, it is in your cells, and
mm.
you don't fear so much.
I
You know,
totally
you
agree.
don't fear so much. And it's such a beautiful, peaceful place that personally I've experienced. Um, and yeah, you know, that I wish everyone could know that. But it takes work. It's
Yeah.
not handed to you.
Yes.
It's about your own individual journey. And a lot of the time you're walking it alone. You
Yes.
have to do it for yourself. And then the ripple effect occurs for your family, for your children, and
Mm,
you can pass that on to them. And they won't have such a hard time moving through all of this type of stuff. But it starts with you. It
mm,
starts with you. And it's hard to make that decision. It's like, I'm going to go on this. Okay, I can do this hard thing, and I'm freaking scared, and
mm,
I feel like at times I'm going to die, and I feel like this is too hard, and it's emotional and it's scary and it's unknown. But no one is willing to sit in the unknown anymore.
mm.
It's like that instant gratification, or it's like someone tell me what to do and which way to go. And I've been there, and the only way through is to do it myself,
Yeah.
you know?
I feel like that trust and that surrender, because that's what I personally feel that it is the surrender is such an innate part of womanhood and of femininity. And I think that we have forgotten that because we have been taught and told that we can do it all, that we actually can have a husband and a career and children and all of these things. And we should expected to do that if you want to be a successful modern woman. So we have learnt not to let anybody else help us. And it's I say this to women, you can't have it all. I'm so sorry that they've told you that you can, but you actually can't.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, you can have all of those things, but not all of those things to the quality that you would like. So at some point, something is going to get dropped, whether it's your work or your husband in relationship, or it's your child, or it's you. At
Mm-hmm.
some point, something's going to get dropped. And maybe you just take turns of dropping different balls at different times. And you go, oh my God, I dropped my self-care. I better pick that one up. Oh, my kids. Oh, I totally forgot about it. I better pick that one up. You
Yeah.
cannot have it all. And anyone who
Mm-hmm.
tells you that you can is lying because they have
Mm-hmm.
had to sacrifice something in order to achieve what they are happy with in terms of what they're neglecting, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get by without help from other people as a woman. And when you have a baby, you become very aware of that. Like, I actually need help right now. I can't do this
Mm-hmm.
by myself. I can't work. I've just had a child. I literally
Mm-hmm.
can't work. I can't do self-care and self-support right now. I need help. Like I can barely have a
Mm-hmm.
shower. I can barely, feed myself. I'm
Yeah.
exhausted. My hormones are going crazy. There are so many things. Your brain loses gray matter. You literally do not have the capacity in your brain that you had beforehand. To think that you can just go back to work and be performing at the same level is insanity. And it's wrong that
Mm-hmm.
we tell women that they can do that. So that support comes from the place of surrender, but
Mm-hmm.
it comes from this softening of like, I am open to receiving support and I'm surrendering and just trusting that God will provide.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching the ways in which that unfolds and that you are innately supported. And sometimes it feels like you got to fake it till you make it. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you, what like I was, completely distrustworthy, I was like, I am being like not supported at all. This is almost seems like some kind of cruel punishment. I don't know what's happening. But, my
Yeah.
perspective shift, I had to keep going, but this is the way. It's like list the ways that you're being supported, because I couldn't feel it. So I had to logic it until I could embody
Hmm.
it. I had to fake it until I made it. And now I have a completely different mindset. And I had
Hmm.
a situation happen yesterday where I was babysitting a kid. And he's just turned 1. So I had him on my hip, and I had a 6-year-old with me as well. And we stopped to get a coffee. We were going on our way to playgroup. And I crossed the road. We got our coffee, and a gentleman had pulled up in his car, and he was chatting to me about this little kid's red hair. He's got red curly hair that I look after. And he was like, "Oh, my son, he's in the car there. He's 17 now. He doesn't have a haircut either. Look at his curly hair." And so we were just having a chat, didn't think anything of it. I get my coffee. I've got kid on one hip, coffee in hand, and I said to the 6-year-old, who's nearly 7, very capable, I said, "Listen, we're going to cross the road right now. You can see the car right there, but I don't have a hand. So I want you to hold onto my wrist. Don't let go,
Hmm.
and just be aware and listen to me." Now, I live in the country. There was not any cars. So I really didn't have to worry. But it's, the consistency and the reassurance.
Informing and yeah.
Exactly. So I said this to this kid, knowing full well we'd be safe. The gentleman overheard me, and he was with his wife and his 2 sons who were like 16 and 17. And he said, "Excuse me," to his wife. And he got up and he said, "I'd like to be on escort duty." And he
Oh,
walked us across the road, stood in front of us, and made sure we
wow.
got to the other side of the car and said, "I hope you have a lovely day." And
Hmm.
I was just
Hmm.
like, oh my God,
I
what
know.
that simple act, what a gift to everybody involved.
Hmm.
To me, to the boys that I had with me, to his sons who he's modeling that to
Hmm.
for his wife to be
Yeah.
like, "Wow, what an incredible husband." And for him to be able to give that to someone who needed help
Hmm.
at that moment. And if I
Hmm.
had been like, "No, thanks, I'm fine.
Exactly.
What
Like we
a,
take it so personally
I'm
that
good.
we're not capable or like, yeah, I can do it myself,
I don't need your help. There's no
It
cars."
yeah, then you couldn't have received that. And that's so beautiful. And that's what makes our world such a beautiful place. And there are people out there still willing to do those things
Absolutely.
and to help and to spread kindness and love. It's not all doom and gloom, but
No,
we have to be open
that's
to
it.
receiving that. And it's a choice. It's a
Yep.
choice. And that's where our children learn from
Yes,
us also. So what
absolutely.
we're doing and what we're changing in ourselves and what we're relearning and shifting, and the work lies within us.
Mm,
And we've been gifted this opportunity to make those changes and not pass down traumas and pass down stories and pass down
mm.
the world is like. It's like you have the opportunity to make a change.
You can
And it's
create it.
on create change. And it's on those little, people are like, oh, what can I do? What's one small person going to do, in this world? But it makes a difference, it
That
makes a
one
difference.
guy affected his 4 people in his family and the
Yes.
3 people
Yeah.
over here. So
Yeah.
in one
You
person here,
are so
and anyone who
powerful. Like,
watched as
yeah.
well,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's
That's really
it's
nice. I'm so
yeah,
glad you experienced that.
yeah,
To
me too.
see
And
how happy that made you.
excuse me, yeah, I wouldn't years ago, I would not have been in the place to have accepted that. I probably wouldn't have even
Yeah.
drawn that in. I would have already given off the vibe that I am an independent, strong woman. I don't actually need your help. So they may not have approached me in the first place. And so therefore my
Hmm.
experience will be that, oh, everybody's selfish. Nobody helps. Look, you could see that I needed help, but nobody came up. But
Yeah.
really, I
Yeah.
was giving off the no thank you vibe, So I am, for me, I look for those little confirmations for my internal compass. Like, I feel like I'm doing well. I feel like I'm on the right
Hmm.
path. And then I get these little reminders, these little like trinkets of like, you're good. You're open,
Yeah.
you're soft, people want to help, people want to interact with you, and it's a beautiful thing. And this is
Hmm.
creating change. And how we like, I just think even the way that women speak to other women about their children
Hmm.
is such like that one little shift. If you could be that woman, because we all get in the habit of complaining because we
Hmm.
want to be seen and we want to be
Yeah.
acknowledged because it is hard. Like nobody is
Yes.
saying
Yeah.
it's not hard. And nobody's saying Some children are very big to deal with. Nobody's not acknowledging that. But when we get into the habit of like doing that, and I see that with women as well, sometimes bitching about their husbands when they get in little groups and things like that. And if you could be
Mm.
that one voice of dissonance who's just like nobody doubts that everybody loves their children. But if you could be
Yeah.
like, okay, but like tell me like, okay, now we've had that complaint, but tell me like 10 good things that happened today. Or tell me
Yeah.
like what's your favorite thing about your kid? Because we never talk about those things. We always keep those things for ourselves and we always tell everybody
Hmm.
about the bad
The
stuff.
complaints and the
Yeah.
definitely we're so used to talking about the bad stuff in all aspects of our life. And it
Yeah.
just takes that one little perspective shift
Excuse me.
or, someone to break the pattern or interrupt the flow of where this is going downhill. It's a lot of life is about shifting your perspective.
Yeah.
um but yeah, we do want to be heard, we do want to be seen, because it is hard. It is really difficult at
Yes.
times to mother yourself and to love
Yes.
yourself and to give everything to your children. Also, it's difficult. And then to have a relationship, and then to heal this and heal that and acknowledge this and do this, and like,
And to
I
watch your
think,
child reflect back to you all of your
oh,
stuff that you haven't dealt with. And it's like, hey, this is still here. And you're like,
I mean, I've had to pull right back on. It's about boundaries too. It's like
mm,
you're allowed to say no.
yeah.
You don't want to be too busy. I get overwhelmed when I'm too busy and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to be social for now. It's
Yep.
about knowing how you work and sensing when you're starting to feel that overwhelm.
Yes.
And I make sure there's nothing then on the schedule, and we go to bed early, and we have baths, and we take, we
Mm,
do all of these beautiful things, and we pull right back. And
yep.
I have learned not to shame myself over that. Um, I don't have to go, go, go. I don't have to attend every social event. I don't need to reply to this message right now.
Mm,
What is my focus is myself. And am
mm,
I feeling grounded? Am I in the sunshine? Do I have time to just sit?
mm,
It's simple. And my children around me make that shift too. It's like, what? No, no, mummy's sitting for a minute, and
mm.
you can go and do what you do. And we're allowed to be bored. We're allowed to be quiet. Our time doesn't have to be filled.
Yep.
And that's been a big part of I'm like, I come from an Italian Lebanese family where it's like, got to do everything for everyone, and social events, and you got to cook for this and do all of that. And I think moving overseas has created that space.
Mm,
But to allow myself to not shame myself or guilt myself into not having to do and be everything for everyone all the
mm,
time. Um, so that's important to recognize, because we hold that as women. It's like, oh, we have to do everything. You know
mm.
what? If I want to get takeaway tonight because I'm really exhausted that I don't want to cook, we're doing that. And it's
100%.
like shifting the boundaries and making itself known. And it's okay to speak up, because your mental health and your physical health is the most important, so you can be regulated and you can regulate your children. You have a happier home. You don't
Mm,
have to do all the things and be perfect all the time.
mm.
And we're so shamed and guilted, and it's toxic shame.
Yeah.
Who are we carrying that for?
Yeah.
Usually our mothers or our aunties or our grandmas, or what society projects onto us.
Mm,
And yeah, like that's been a big shift for me, um to not have to do it all. And I was that working woman. I ran my own business, I did all the things, and I was like, yeah, I can still do this. And I got to the point where I'm like, I
I
can't.
can't.
What
Mm,
is suffering?
mm,
What is suffering? I am suffering.
mm.
I am suffering. And I don't want to suffer anymore,
Mm.
you know? And I
Yeah.
don't want my children to suffer, because you are everything to those children,
Yes.
everything. And they need you to be well.
Mm.
And so I stopped suffering. I stopped giving in. I stopped saying yes to all the things I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it. It's like, what do you want to do? If you really could make the decision, but is there so much toxic shame that we
Yeah.
carry? And recognizing that is really important. It's not yours.
And I
It's
think
not
a
yours.
lot of that comes from not understanding by we are the first generation that has lived out of home and away from
Yeah.
family and children
Yeah.
before going into having children. So my parents' generation, you got married straight away, you moved out of home and you had kids. So you were
Mm.
always around kids and then you had your own kids. In my grandma's generation, the elder kids raised the younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of the first ones that completely removed ourselves from motherhood. So when motherhood comes around, it's a big surprise. This is
Yeah.
what it means to be a mother. Like
Mm.
that's not what I thought it was going to be. I had this idea in my head because we're completely removed from reality. And I think the older generation looks at us like, duh, but we were completely sheltered and separated from that. And, you and I probably less so because we did grow up in those WOG families where we were always had lots of cousins and aunties and all those things around. But there is an element to motherhood that is sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when women hear that in the modern day, they think sacrifice as in um, self-punishment sacrifice, as in like that I must be unhappy in order to be a
Mm.
mother. But that's
Mm-hmm.
not actually the sacrificial part of being a mother. It's sacrificing who you used to be in order to grow into the mother that you need to be for your children, for yourself. And that is a
Mm.
very different form of sacrifice. So, sure, you might not it's the same way when you get into a relationship, you're not going out and trying to find someone at a nightclub or sorry, I guess I don't do that anymore. You're not swiping on the apps anymore, whatever it may be, because you're in a relationship now. It's like
Mm.
that there's a part of you that's done with that now. And this is the thing that you've shifted into. You're into relationship
Mm-hmm.
mode. And there's a big shift that comes with being a mother. And that means not being able to go out and have all your coffees with your friends and go to dinner and go to a show and do this and be available every weekend or go away on trips. And if you're the first one of your friends to have kids, it's so isolating and it's
Mm-hmm.
so like there's so much pressure. It's like, I've got to be able to do all of this. I went straight back into producing a music festival 6 weeks after giving birth. And then I took my child to that festival at 5 months, thinking that I would run it there. And I
Yeah.
spent the whole time in the cabin, doing the sleeping and the feeding. And, we got up and we're up at 5 a.m. before everyone else is awake, going on our walks, with in the carrier, just going, why are we even here? How I am able to contribute to this is actually not inconducive with how this runs with all of these other people here who are not
Mm-hmm.
parents. And that was a big wake up call for me. It's like I actually can't, and I don't have the brain capacity to have these
Mm.
kind of long phone calls or I just don't. I don't remember what you said to me last week about that thing that you were going through at work or with your partner. I don't remember. I'm so
Mm.
sorry. Like it's gone. I heard
Mm.
it, I sympathize, but it's gone. There's a whole part of you that does die, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice. And if you struggle to let that go and you struggle to sit into who you are now, that's where the pain comes from. That's where the suffering is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not accepting what it means to be a mother and instead trying to be a mother,
Mm-hmm.
which is very different. And I think when you don't give yourself that space, like you were saying, when you just stop and you're like, I'm just going to be here with me. And I think COVID did that
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people and it made a lot of people very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But it also gave you the space to be like, what's important? What's important here? And where am I going to put my energy? And what am
Yeah.
I going to focus on? And what do I actually like? What do I feel passionate about? What do I want to move towards? How do I want to raise my children? What kind of environment do I want to, you know, surround them with? So it's a it's a tricky balance because we hear these words like sacrifice and we have different meanings attached to them and we hear different horror stories and we conflate all of the pieces together but no one's really explaining and we've been removed from the reality and the experience of what it means to be a mum. And so it's just like this domino effect. Disaster, disaster, disaster until mum feels like crap all the time.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
All the time.
What's popping up for me in relation to all of this is also the fact that people that are still living your old life, or still expecting you to be that person and to show up for them in these certain ways, or to do this or do
Mm.
that and do everything.
Yeah.
You know, as women, what I've learned is like you're going to be unliked at
Mm.
certain times, and you're going to be, people are going to resist you
Mm.
because you're now setting boundaries when you choose yourself and your
Yeah.
family. And that's a big thing that women don't want to feel. They don't want to feel like they're unliked. You
Mm.
know, they want to feel accepted and loved. And it's a society thing, it's a family thing. And why isn't this person showing up the way they used to? Oh, they've
Mm.
changed. And
Yeah.
that's okay. That's
Good.
okay. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Change is good, you know, and it just means you're shifting. So it's
Mm.
hard for people that maybe don't have kids, or don't live authentically, or don't
Mm.
want to show up for themselves, or aren't showing up for their family in their best interest.
Mm.
And they try to hold on to their old life.
Yeah.
But we are constantly in motion. The
Mm.
only thing that's inevitable is change,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and moving forward. We must keep moving forward. And that's many, we come back to seasons,
Mm.
cycles, seasons. Everything is constantly in motion, and we're allowed to change. And
Yeah.
when we hold on and we're gripping on so tight, that is where the suffering and the
Mm.
pain comes from. And we come back to surrender.
Mm.
But we don't want to be the one that is outcast. We
Yeah.
don't want to be different. We don't want to choose ourselves because then we're being selfish. But
Yeah.
being selfish is really good, you know, to
Mm.
have your self interest at heart, like for
Mm.
yourself and your family. That's really, really good.
Mm.
It's not a selfish thing.
I totally agree. And it's evolution, you know, this is you
Mm,
evolving as a human, you're growing, you're learning, and it's like a metamorphosis. You're just like, you're going into your chrysalis and you're coming out a beautiful butterfly. It's just that all your friends are still caterpillars, maybe, you know, and it's not that that's bad. It's just you're at different
mm,
stages, you're at different seasons of your life, and you will get back to where you have a little bit more freedom when they get older and you're like, I can now
yeah,
go to the bathroom by myself. Wow. This is like, I remember when that happened, I was like, we're in a new phase. This is
yeah.
amazing. You know,
And it's fleeting and it goes
yeah,
so fast. And you know what? You miss it.
yeah.
You really, really miss it because you weren't really truly there.
Mm,
Um, but if you know that every moment is going to pass, then you can be more grateful and you can be more present. And that's really important,
yeah,
especially in motherhood, because it goes so fast.
yeah.
And also, you know, when we're threatened with being outcast from the group or being seen as different, we make decisions for ourselves that are um, listening to other people out of convenience.
Mm,
And we don't make the best decisions maybe for our family. And we do things so we can maintain our old life and we can create more time for ourselves.
mm.
But who's suffering then? It's like, you know, for our children. Um,
I think,
I feel like people are trying to project constantly, oh, you should just do this because it's easier. And you
mm,
should, I'm going to go into it, you know, sleep train, bottle feed formula,
yeah,
put them in daycare
daycare.
24/7. All of these things hinder your life, your family, your time with your children, your connectedness, and your who you are as a mother.
Mm,
And I'm not opposed to that. And some people need to do those things, but it comes from pressure, and it
mm,
comes from, you know, having to sacrifice those important things, and not what it really means to be a mother, to be there for your children, and coming back to our body. Our
yeah.
bodies are able to nourish our children,
Mm,
you know, but we do these things so that we can have a more convenient life
yeah,
or maintain our old life. And that's not what it is. It's
yeah.
like, you're so capable. You have everything you need. Your body creates everything you need. All your children need really
Is you.
is
Yeah.
you.
I think
So it's
you are
all this, you know, like it's a
the
big
noise.
tangle.
Yeah.
It's the noise, it's the tangle, and you need someone outside of that maybe to help and guide you until you
Mm,
get really good at it. And it's
yeah.
women passing on true wisdom and
Mm,
what's truly important, who are living this experience in life. So you don't have regrets and you don't look back and the time has passed
mm.
and, you wish you did it different.
I think that you're a
So,
really good example of that and what you went through recently. And I can imagine that you had so many people telling you what you should and shouldn't do. And my God, to just sit in, no, I will do what I know is right for me was just so empowering for everybody else to witness that. Like, I don't think you went in there with the intention that, like, I'm going to be an example for women out there. You were just doing it authentically. But the knock-on effect of that being so
Mhm.
powerful, I don't know if you wanted to speak a little bit to that, because that's, I mean, there's a lot of fear in that as well.
Mhm. I'm assuming and that you're speaking about the loss of my baby before this
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, there is a lot of fear around pregnancy loss and miscarriage. Um, I was 5 months pregnant and having a wild sovereign pregnancy as well. So I didn't have any tests or scans. I knew that I would trust my body
Mm,
and just feel and sense and, you know, just continue on with my life and welcome this new baby into our life.
mm,
Until my body started showing me signs that I maybe something needed my attention and that yeah, I found out at 5 months pregnant that my baby had passed in utero. And I did choose to go and get a scan at that point, which was when I entered the system. And automatically, you know, um, I was given a prescription for medication, and we need to get this baby out. You can't hold this baby. You can't hold death. You can't hold, like, no one knows. I had no idea. I had
mm,
no idea. So this was taking me on a journey where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to do my own research. I can't rush these decisions. I know I'm an emotional being. I know how I work. I know what I value. And so everyone was telling me, oh, you've got to, I didn't know how long this process could take or would
mm,
take. And so many timelines are given and all of this information, it was so new to me, but I could sense it was so rooted in fear.
mm,
And what had to come back to was, okay, well, my body's capable of resolving whatever it needs to do. I feel healthy. Obviously, I'm going to experience this type of grief for some reason. This baby had to leave at this time. Um, and it was just a lot of sitting in the unknown.
mm,
I knew that when the timing was right, that my body would release this baby. And I just couldn't really speak to many people. I knew a few people that, they're rare individuals who trust birth and
mm,
trust our bodies and know how our bodies work and don't really live or make decisions out of fear. And I'm grateful for those few people. Um, and so the miscarriage process for me took 3 months. My body didn't birth the baby until 30 weeks gestation. So I lost the baby at 19 weeks and the baby was born at 30 or so weeks
mm.
at home into my hands, um, just the way that I intended it to be, peacefully. And it was, you know, there's so many things, mostly for which I'm really grateful for the lessons and who I am today, and the trust and the faith and the surrender that I hold within me. And I think these things are sent to us so that we can grow and evolve and know ourselves, just like the birth experience. I birthed this baby, even though my relationship with death is much different.
Mm.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing in the end. Um, and yeah, if I had have listened to people outside of myself and not gone into my own cocoon and my own shell and trusted that I would move through this, I wouldn't be where I am. And I like and love where I am. Um, yeah, like the connection that I have with the divine, the connection that I had with the soul that left is, I truly believe through communication, and what opened up for me intuitively after the loss of this baby. I'm carrying the same soul, but this time I am the woman that this soul needs me to be
Mm.
here for when it arrives. And I couldn't have known that, unless it came to tell me and then needed to go.
Yeah.
So there's so many beautiful gifts in what I experienced, but it's, I think, only through moving through that in my own timing, in my own way, outside of the system, um, and really holding myself, devoting myself to that experience.
Yeah, you held
Um,
such strong boundaries too. Like, and this is the thing, there are a lot of ideas around how to move through that. And by the way, thank you for sharing so openly. Um, but you've lived it, you've experienced it. So when you're talking to women and this, goes back to even your Q&A. So when you're speaking from your heart and from embodiment and from experience, it shows and it comes across. You are now an incredible resource of knowledge, of bodily wisdom. You're an example of a woman who trusts herself and who knows how to surrender. And there's a beauty in that pain and in that grief. There's such a gift in that you will hold for the rest of your life. And I think the way that you have done that with such grace, it's just phenomenal. Like, so many people talk about boundaries and it's like this hard thing, but you were just so graceful about it. And you were just, no, this is me trusting my body and I'm okay. When I'm not okay,
yeah,
I'll let you know and then we can do something. But right now, this is what I'm doing for me.
yeah,
And it was just such an honor to witness that. It affected me witnessing that in you. Like we talk about the ripple effect. It's just so tragic and so beautiful at the same time. Yeah, it's
thank you.
phenomenal to watch. Yeah, we're a mess right now for those listening and not watching. Um, yeah, yeah, it
I
was.
truly believe, we are sent these opportunities to grow and to know ourselves, and we just have to be willing to go there, even though it's incredibly painful.
Yeah,
Um, I think we can alchemize and transform our pain. There's some of the most beautiful opportunities, to know life and to know God and to know yourself,
yeah,
and the strength that comes from that. And yeah, like I'm completely, well, I think that I'm more of myself.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes we don't understand why. We
Mm,
just have to trust. Um, but I couldn't have known this, like the way that I've handled this pregnancy is
mm,
just, like less fearful and less doubt coming in. And when there is doubt, I know myself because I could hold that. I think it's almost playing with, it's being playful with life. It's like I'm going to test myself. I'm going to test
mm,
my capability. I'm going to see. And it was always my decision. And I
mm.
think that's really important to remember, is like, as long as you're making decisions for yourself, truly I don't think you can go wrong.
And
Like,
none
I
of your
think it's
decisions were
so,
fear-based either.
I knew that I had
Yeah.
to sit through the fear because there's so much fear, especially around this topic. It's like, oh, well,
Mm.
my body's going to hemorrhage, my body's going to clot, my body, like I'm going to fall ill, sepsis, all of these things that I truly don't really believe in.
Yeah.
From a different, say, a German new medicine perspective, I had to come back to what I knew in my heart and in my body. And I just had to listen.
Yeah.
You just have to pull back. And that's what everything else, I wasn't living from shame. I didn't have to keep going. It wasn't convenient for me. I didn't have, I gave my all and I created space, and my family was with me, and I didn't have to get on with my life. I
Mm.
didn't have to go to work. I didn't
Yeah.
have to do this. My family and my girls were with me, and we took our time
Mm.
because I gave myself that time.
Yeah.
And it was a slow, grueling, unknown, I don't know if I'm going to die process.
Mm.
And I still just went, it's minute by minute and it's moment by moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm going to create my own path. And everyone was like, no, you got to get it, got to get the baby out, blah, blah, blah. And all I wanted to do was hold my baby.
Mm.
And that's an important part of it, closure
Yeah.
for a woman. And a lot of women don't get that
Yeah.
because their body's invaded. It's a really harsh, cold process
Mm.
when you go the medical route and
Yes.
when things are rushed and when you're not given the time to process and to grieve. Your body goes through so many changes. And I just knew that I try and foster secure attachment, and my children are with me all the time,
Mm.
and all of those things. And I didn't want to take this baby from my body until it was ready
Mm.
and until I was ready.
Mm.
um and I wanted to hold my
Yeah.
baby, and I wanted to see my baby, and I wanted to be closure, and then I wanted to honor my baby, and I
Yeah.
wanted to honor my body, and I wanted to give that baby a ceremony.
Mm.
And, you know, like that's not, death is such a feared thing
Mm.
also.
Mm.
But, we all die. We die many, many times in our lifetime before we physically die
Yeah.
to our body. And I think that was a big shift for me and my family. It's like my girls don't fear death.
Mm.
My girls were very active in the process, in the grieving, in
Mm.
their own ways, and in the honoring of life and death. Um, so it was really a really important time for my family to go through that. Um, I'm proud of myself how I handled it. I'm proud of how I led my family through it. And I stuck to what I truly value.
Mm.
Today is actually in Mexico where we live. They honor death beautifully here.
Mm.
It's called Day of the Dead. It's called Dia, if I'm saying it right, Moratas. And today is Day of the Angels, and it's to honor all of the children and all of the babies that have passed.
Mm.
Um, and it's such a beautiful thing. We honor death here as part of life, and we every year welcome our ancestors and the people that have passed. We remember them. We create beautiful altars for them. And I think that's something that's so removed in Western culture. It's like we are connected to our ancestors and
Yeah.
the wisdom that we carry from them. And, death is part of life. It's part of the cycle.
Mm.
It comes back to, as a woman, our monthly cycles and constantly dying over and over and over again. It's all connected.
Mm.
um, and when we don't resist so much, it becomes,
Mm.
powerful and transformative. And it's painful, and grief, we carry grief, that doesn't go away. We learn to live and move and flow and embody life.
Mm.
It becomes easier.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm just super grateful for everything that's led me here because I'm really happy here.
Mm.
I love being here, and that's, obviously what I like to share with people is that it's not doesn't have to be painful all the time, and you
Mm.
don't have to suffer, and there's so much beauty in life. And I think that if women are supported or spoken to with understanding, not just everything has to be swept under the rug, or you've gone through this, you've lost a child too, and you should just be getting on with it. Like, it's okay to take your time. There's no wrong or right way to do this, but there are other options than rushing and invading your body. It's really important to allow your body to heal in its own way and in its own time. Um, because for me, 2 weeks after the baby was born, I started receiving, communication from the soul who was like, Mummy, I want to come back.
Mm.
I'm ready to come back. And it took me a while to understand what was going on.
Mm.
But within a few weeks, I wasn't trying to become pregnant, but this soul told me it's coming. And what it needed from me to feel safe and to grow healthy. And that's given me so much faith to move through um, this pregnancy, because I know that, I think that these things happen so that things can become aware and we can heal, and it comes to the surface to be known and to be felt, and to be, boundaries to be created, and all of these things. And so this child was like, I'm coming. And I gave the child permission to come. And I was pregnant again within 4 weeks of the other baby being born. So to open that door up to me, and to be able to, once again, we talk about receiving.
Mm.
It's like, are you in tune? I could have only known that if I listened the way that I did through that
Mm.
whole
Mhm.
process. I
Mm.
didn't bypass, I didn't override, I
Yeah.
didn't numb. I feel like I felt it all completely. It was integrated, it was processed. Everyone
Mm.
in my family knew. It wasn't a secret. It
Yeah.
was, it was, it's really important to acknowledge the souls that have left us and not to
Mm.
hide. So
So many
it's
women
been just,
experience it too. So
it's
many, and
just
so many
been,
silently experience it.
oh yeah, like it's okay to talk about it.
Mm.
There's no shame in it. And
Mm.
I really truly don't think that it's, always something that we've done, like we drank the wrong drink or we ate the wrong food or something. I think that as women, where our work lies is to make the unknown known.
Mm.
And I think a lot of the time in miscarriage and loss, um, it's calling us forward to know ourselves
Mm.
and to step forward and to heal what maybe we're carrying ancestrally,
Mm.
or from a trauma perspective. We hold a lot in our wombs, and it affects our fertility. It affects all of those type of things. And a lot of women suffer. But I think that if we're told maybe where to look is to go within,
Mm.
I think that a lot of women wouldn't suffer as much.
Mm.
And, I think that's another important lesson, I suppose, knowledge that I can give back and share.
And
It's
it's
not an easy
uncomfortable.
road.
Yeah,
It's
it's
uncomfortable. It is. It's not
yeah.
easy. You have to choose to go there. But at some point, like, if these things continue and it's a pattern, it's like, well, what am I missing? Where do I need to go? It's maybe not just this doctor's going to save me. Maybe
Mm.
you're being called forward to grow and evolve and to know yourself and to step forward as the mother that you're meant to be for the child. And
Mm,
sometimes, we're not in control of our karmic stories.
mm,
And there's so much at play to bring a life forward. And I think it's important that our children feel safe
mm,
before we've conceived. And
mm,
sometimes it's simple and it's just like, I'll hold you, I'll keep you safe.
mm.
It's okay to come here.
Yeah.
And that's what it was for me. But to give that to your child, you need to give that to yourself too.
Mm,
And you need to feel safe within yourself. You need to be able to hold and feel capable to handle life.
mm.
That's important work.
Yeah.
And so it's not just physically before while you're holding your child in your arms. It happens well. We are so connected to other planes and the spirit world and to our ancestors and all of those things. And that opens up when when you're willing to go there. Yeah, it's probably not a part of, many people hear often,
Mm,
that kind of information, but it's my personal experience. Um, it's what I'm living now too.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
The no, I am in agreement with all of that. And I not only just in agreement with it, like just anyone who knows you or who sees you online can see that it's a fully embodied experience. It's not, you're not just saying words. Like this is how you live your life, and it's very, very real, and it's very obvious from being, just even digitally around you. And but for me, also knowing you, like it's such a nice. I think if I could surround myself with more women like you, that would only be of benefit to me, because you're just such a great example of someone who truly loves themselves. And that's, I think, what it comes down to is like you love yourself and you trust yourself. And that may not have always been the case, and that may, there may still be hiccups or whatever. I'm not saying you're a perfect human being,
Of
not by
course.
not by
I'm
any
still going through it.
100%, as we all are. But when we come back to like the set point, you're there, you're in your body, you feel your feelings, you're here for you because you love you, and you're not leaving you. You've never left in that process. You didn't leave yourself. You just were like, I'm here for you, and I'm going to stick with you the whole time. And I think that is the truest form of self-love. Like for whatever
Mm.
you went through, and I can imagine it was so many different stages. There would have been so many different emotions: love, hate, anger, joy, sadness, like all of that in that grief process. But at no point, if you can figure out the way to not leave yourself in those moments, that's where the love is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the holding is. And then transferring that into your mothering is the next step. But doing it for yourself, if you can't do it for yourself, then your kids don't actually pick up all the time what you give them. Because if you remember when you were a kid, I remember looking at some of the stuff my mother did and being like, why did you do that? That was so mean. When really she was just trying to love and protect me. But what comes across is how you are to yourself. They
Mm-hmm.
emulate
Mm-hmm.
you and they feel you rather than understand you more. So I think that that's such a gift, that if women wanted to be better parents and love their kids more, they have to go into themselves and love themselves and be better
Yeah.
parents to themselves more. And this is, I think it's such a strange concept, because when I first heard about like mothering yourself, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a bit weird. What do you mean? Like I feel like I'm entitled to a mother. Why don't I just have my mother mother me? That would be way easier.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
to step into the self-responsibility of like, but I'm the adult now. So it's actually my responsibility to mother
Mm-hmm.
myself, to come in and be that other voice and be like, I've got you. It's
Yeah.
okay. You don't need to go, where's outside of me that's going to hold this? I'll hold
Yeah.
this. Because the thing that's going through all of that is not the real essence of who you are. Your humanness is going through all of that. But there's another part of you that's the observer that's sitting there. That's like the wise woman that's sitting there holding the space for all of your humanness to feel and experience in all of that. And so
Yeah.
she comes in and she's like, I'm here. Give me all of you. Give me all that you've got. I'm not afraid. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
afraid of your feelings. And I'm going to hold all of that and I'm still going to be here. And even when you're at your lowest low and your shittiest human that you are,
Mm.
and you're the most disgusting and the most horrible thing, I still love you. And I'm still
Yeah.
here and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to abandon you and be like, well, actually, that's too much. I'm out. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm going to disassociate in some way. That's the key, I think, is figuring out that part that's just, it's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
work because it's habit forming. It's like finding those moments when you are upset and being like, it's okay that you're upset. It's all right, you could cry, and saying these things to yourself and you feel like an idiot. You feel like an idiot, but it starts, like you were saying, it builds that muscle and it starts
Mm.
to like build up the confidence in yourself so that when those really big things happen, you've got that support there and you know that you've got your back.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a great, it's just such a great example of ways to be. And we just don't see it. We just don't see it because so many of the elder generation, and there are some amazing elders out there, but the mainstream majority, everybody's just disconnected and disassociated. And so we just don't see that modeled very well. So yeah, I think that you model that so well. And I think so many women are grateful for you, even just like sharing your experience online. Both you and Joel shared what you went through. And yeah, so many women would be, and men would be very grateful for your honesty and your openness in that. So thank you.
Thank you. I think that when we share our stories and our true, like what life is, all of the opportunities and all of the experiences, then we don't feel so alone. Um, I know that that's what helped me at
Yeah.
certain times, and there's no shame in fully embodying and living this human experience.
Yeah.
And we're not alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like we are, but truly, if you speak truthfully, then you attract the people that will hold you and support you. And
Community.
yeah.
Even when you're in
So
Mexico,
even when you're in Mexico.
which is
Yeah.
so awesome.
What a ride, hey?
And like you're about to give birth. Like it's just
I know. I'm so
incredible.
excited. I'm
I'm
so
excited for
excited.
you.
And I'm excited to meet myself. It's like, well, what's going to come up next for me to, and who am I going to become
Yeah. But the
next?
trust that you have that you are just going to meet you, like the man, no
Mm,
matter what comes up, no matter how this birth goes, if it's 30 seconds or it's 30 hours, like I'm good, I've
yeah.
got me. It's
Yeah.
just going to
Yeah.
be such, you can be excited about birth. You can be excited about
Yes.
stepping
Yeah.
into pain and being and stepping into um the death process of like, I'm going to be a whole new person at the
Yeah.
end of this. This is so exciting. Who am I going to be?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited to find
And who
out.
is this soul that's
Yes.
like, forced me to
Yeah.
wake up even more and just like,
What
who
dynamic is
chose
going to come
me?
in to your
Yeah.
family now with this new soul in? It's going to change
Yeah.
everybody's
I
lives.
know.
What a
I know.
powerhouse.
I'm like, who are we going to be at the
Yeah.
end of this?
So you're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm excited for you because it's
Yeah.
like this is the best part about being a woman is that you're now like you're in the little cocoon and you're going to come out like a little like a butterfly and it's going to be this is the
Yeah.
metamorphosis that you're going to go
Yeah.
through to
And it's bringing that playfulness in. It's like, sometimes you can't take it all so seriously and it's not all doom and gloom and you can
yeah,
have fun and you can be playful and that's the
yes,
feminine essence also.
yes,
Um, we're just so excited. Like our whole
yeah.
family is just beaming. We're just like, what? And how's all this going to tie in and make sense? And it's just like life. It's like life is pretty pretty cool and pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, um,
Well, I think
what else
I,
can I
I
say?
think that's a good note to wrap up on,
Yeah.
and the excitement. And maybe when you are recovered and you're feeling up for it one day, maybe you can come back on the
Yes,
podcast and you can
and
tell us,
see how it all turned
yes,
out.
exactly. You're like part two. We're
Yeah.
gonna figure out, and we're gonna have that new little soul here who's gonna be like, I'm here. Let me tell you all about it.
And a lot more things will probably make sense to me and I'll be able to share
Yeah.
because I'm still figuring, a lot of the stuff out and just holding space for because I don't know. I'm still sitting in the unknown. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, we'll
And
see.
that's such a beautiful place to be because the unknown, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah.
can. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
coming on.
Thank
And
you. It's been great.
if people want to find you, follow you, contact you, what are you open to? Because I know you're probably going to go into the birth cave soon and
Uh-huh.
retreat. So tell us where you're at and what you're happy with, and if so, where people can
I
contact.
love when people connect or ask questions, and I love sharing and supporting, and open for a chat, and just want to help women on their own journey. So shoot me a message and I'll reply when I can. I'm on Instagram. I check my Instagram regularly. And you can link my website is on my Instagram. It has many podcast episodes and bits and pieces, information about me. But yeah, just it's pretty easy going and you can
What's your
message me.
handle?
I'm pretty sure it's just my name, Alyssa Rafidi
Yep.
underscore. And so you'll find me, you'll see my picture, you'll see, bits of our life in Mexico and lots about birth and information, alternative information. And if you're going through your own experience of loss or birth and all of those things, I've got lots of like information and chats on podcasts where I share a lot more in depth with other birth workers and things like that. So yeah, I'm open.
Resourced up. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thanks for having me and holding space because I always find these things really healing and appreciate you. Appreciate always your support and just our chats along the way. You were there for me at certain times when I need to talk. So I just want to say I appreciate you and I'm grateful for you.
thank you. You're welcome. Of course, I couldn't, you know, just I feel privileged to have, even done the slightest thing that I could have done from on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, but yeah, I
I feel your love and I feel your support and I'm
thank you.
grateful.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully we'll chat with you soon.
Uh-huh.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.